Hey guys, it's Craig here. Welcome back to Vinyl TV. As promised, I have my Fluance RT-81 Turntable here with me, and I'm going to do a little bit of a review for you, as I mentioned during the unboxing video, which is, there will be a link for that down below in the info section. So, it was really easy to set up. I'm going to tell you right off the top that I do like this turntable, and I'll be keeping it. So let's go through some of the things that I like about it, and I'll give you some advice. If you do purchase one, there's a few things I should, caution you about. First of all, the lid is tinted, and it is hinged, so it lifts up like that. And the hinges, so they're not just plastic things that bend or anything like that. They're actually real hinges. You can put it at a few different heights if you want, or you can just, let it go. But it's certainly better than just having those plastic hinges that just bend and eventually probably break. So I like that. This is more what I'm used to. It's more like a vintage turntable. Starting on the left here, I'm going to lift this up just a little bit. It's actually quite heavy, which is good. Very good for a turntable to have some weight to it. The legs are, as you can sort of see, they're sort of dampened a little bit. They've got some suspension to them. They're not just screwed onto the bottom of the plinth. They've actually attempted to provide some dampening effect to them to try and isolate, the turntable from the table that you put it on, which I've got it on a crappy stand right now, but so that's good. At least they've gone through the trouble of doing that. There seems to have been a lot of thought put into this turntable, really. Having been listening to it for over a week now, I really do believe that effort was put into this and a lot of thought was put into it. Certainly, it seems like that anyway. We have our on-off switch speed control, which is aluminum. Somebody on YouTube said it was made of plastic. Nope, it's aluminum, because you can tell by how cold it feels. And of course, you got your 33 and your 45 and a little light there that tells you that the turntable is on. Okay, so that's nice feel to that. Not sure if you can hear the clicking there, but it has a nice smooth feel to it when it clicks on and off. Moving on here, we've got the turntable. This turntable, they upgraded it to a rubber mat, fairly thin. Certainly, I think better than the felt mat that came with the previous model. But of course, everyone's going to say you should have a cork mat. Well, eventually, maybe I'll get one if I can find a black one, because I'll tell you, this looks very nice on here. I didn't have too much problem with static, so I'm going to be keeping the rubber mat for now. The turntable platter is aluminum. When you don't have the belt hooked on, it turns quite freely, so it's got a nice smooth bearing. To remove the belt, to remove the platter, you just take your finger in here and slip the belt off of the motor pulley, just like that, and then the platter just lifts off. This is for easy cleaning, in case stuff gets underneath there. You can take this off very easily and give it a wipe with a soft cloth. You got your motor here. The motor has rubber grommets between the screws, so there is some isolation there. It doesn't have any suspension or any weird pivot motion to it, but I will be discussing later on how quiet this turntable really is, so I didn't see a need for anything fancy like that in this case. You got your bearing in the middle here. It turns very smoothly with a little bit of resistance to it, which is nice. That helps for speed stability, right? And of course, your platter. And to put the belt back on, you just grab it with a finger like that through the hole, and you put your turntable back on the thing, and you just, with your finger, you just put the belt right back on the pulley, just like that. So there you go. Okay, put the mat back on. Easy peasy, right? Right. Moving onward, we have a tone arm. Now, first of all, I replaced the phono cartridge on this. I want to talk a bit about that. It came with an Audio-Technica AT95E. They say that the cartridge is pre-aligned. Of course, I had to test that. I've got some protractors here that I rely on for that. And I did test it, and it was dead on. Perfectly aligned, just like they said. When I got my Audio-Technica turntable, that wasn't the case. They said it was pre-aligned, but when I checked them, it was off quite a bit. So I had to align that myself. So if you own an Audio-Technica LP120, you might want to check your alignment if you haven't done anything to it since you bought it. Yeah, so the cartridge was aligned perfectly, but I decided to switch it for my AT440 MLA cartridge, which I'm a big fan of, and I will be replacing this cartridge when it wears out with the same cartridge, because I love the sound of it. Now, the AT95E sounded great. I did play some vinyl with that, and it paired up nicely with this turntable. Both cartridges, this one and the other one that came with it, have the same height. So, you know, they both fit this tone arm very well, and they both track at just about the perfect angle as far as the height of the tone arm goes. You know, you can see how nice and level that is. That's riding in the groove nice and level. I like that. That looks good to me. So if you're going to replace the cartridge, you just kind of have to make sure you get one with roughly the same height. That's all. Nothing wrong with the 95E, but the 440 MLA is certainly a much better cartridge. The tone arm is aluminum. It covered in a sort of a matte finish, which I love. Doesn't attract fingerprints very easily. Just take off the counter or the clip there, and as you can see, it's got the Q lever as well, which comes with the turntable. You don't have to order that separately. Nice smooth cueing. So when you lower the Q lever, it goes down nice and slow and easy. And the counterweight system and the bearing at the back looks great. It's got a double pivot, so the bearing is not just one single pivot point, but it actually has two independent ones. So you've got the vertical and the horizontal bearings. And of course the counterweight at the back, which has a very wide range of motion. So you can put you can put a wide range of different cartridges on this turntable, and you'll be able to dial them in with that counterweight system. And of course it comes with the anti-skate control as well, which is included with the turntable. So you don't have to order anything special when you buy this turntable. It comes with everything you need. The Fluance RT-81 has a built-in preamplifier. So if you don't have one, then you don't have to worry. You just flip the switch over, and you can hook this turntable up to any auxiliary input, including your computer sound card or powered speakers. However, if you do have a preamplifier that you would like to use externally, of course you have the option to flick the switch over and use any preamplifier that you desire. Another nice built-in feature is that it has an auto start and stop feature here. So you flick the switch over here, and you can actually have the turntable start your platter automatically when you put the stylus down on the record, and then it will stop automatically when the record gets to the end. A nice feature if you happen to fall asleep. But keep in mind, it doesn't stop immediately. It takes 17 revolutions before the turntable will stop. But it will stop, and then you just return the tone arm to its resting position. Now this turntable currently, at the time of this video, sells, I believe, for $250 US. I'm in Canada, so I paid $317 for it. That's probably just the exchange rate. And I'll tell you, for the price, that's got to be at least $100 cheaper than some of the competition who don't have these extra things like the hinged, the spring-loaded hinges on the lid, and the Q lever, and the things like that, and the speed control, which is a dial instead of a belt that you have to move with your hands. And some of you might say, well, yeah, but how does it sound? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, you're going to hear how it sounds. So I would rather see you spend your money on this turntable and then spend the extra money on that cartridge, because this turntable loves that cartridge, and that cartridge loves this turntable. I sat and listened to, I listened to 3 different Rush albums. I think there was 2112, Signals, and I listened to the Doobie Brothers Greatest Hits. One of the records I listened to was this record, Rush Moving Pictures. This is a reissue of it that was recently pressed. This is what solidified my decision to keep this turntable, really. This record was brass mastered, which means that instead of cutting the grooves into a aluminum disc covered in lacquer, they cut the grooves into a brass disc, which is a lot harder and a lot more durable. It's a lot easier to make stampers from a brass disc than it is from a lacquer disc, because there's less steps involved. There's a lot more steps involved with the lacquer disc to try and preserve the lacquer, because the lacquer is quite fragile. But the brass is tough enough that it could actually be used to make the mothers that then made the stampers that stamp out these records. And that's a one-stage procedure. That makes for a much quieter record. The music, of course, is still loud, but the vinyl itself, it's so quiet that if there's any motor noise or hum at all, you're going to hear it. So if you're going to buy these, if you did buy these Rush reissue records, you better have a quiet turntable, because this is going to reveal any noise that your turntable is making. Well, I can assure you that after listening to this record, I can guarantee you that this turntable is silent. There's no motor noise, there's no hum. So that was my litmus test, and I can assure you that the turntable sounds awesome, especially with that cartridge, and it is very quiet. Now, speaking of hum and noise, when I first hooked up the turntable with the cables that came with it, which are right here, you can see that there's 3 of them. I don't know if you can see it, but there's 3 wires there, and they're quite thin. So that's what came with it, and of course it's enough to get you started. But there was some hum, and it was quite noticeable. So that scared me at first. I thought, oh no, something's wrong, whatever. But all I did was I grabbed some different cables. These are big thick ones here. These ones, I'm sure they came with a home theater system or something like that years ago. Very thick. I used those, and I just used the ground wire from the cables that came with the turntable. Everything is perfect. The hum is gone, and it's quiet. So if you do purchase this, be prepared to get some better cables. And most of us have these things lying around anyway, but if you don't, that's just one thing you're going to have to keep in mind. I guess the next important thing to talk about is the speed accuracy. So I downloaded an app for my phone, and I did test the speed with this turntable. And as you can see, this is running at around 33.3 or 0.4. It's toggling between the two, probably because the weight of my phone is interfering with the rotation of the platter. So as you can see, it's pretty much dead on. I'm not going to touch this. A 45, it's dead on as well, as you can see. Right out of the box, this turntable came perfectly aligned and perfectly adjusted. There are 2 holes underneath that you can use to adjust the speed if you have to. There's one for 33 and one for 45. I can feel it with my finger there. And there's a video on YouTube that shows you how to do that. Speed-wise, it's dead on. It's even more dead on than my Audio-Technica, which is a quartz-driven direct drive turntable. Supposed to be very accurate, but as you can see, it's not actually as close to the proper speed as my Fluance belt drive turntable. So that's pretty impressive. It's hardly noticeable. I mean, 0.3 revolutions per minute is not a lot of speed variance, really. I mean, but it's just nice to know that once again, they've gone through the trouble of making sure that this turntable is accurately set up. In conclusion, I'm extremely happy with this turntable. I'm happy with the solidness of this. I was on YouTube watching somebody unboxing one of the competing turntables to this one, and I'll just use my tablet to show you. He had lifted it with one hand, and he was sort of removing the packaging that was on the turntable. He was just holding it just like this, with one hand, while he was removing the packaging with the other hand. Well, that didn't impress me. Sorry. You can't hold this with one hand. I'm sorry, but that has some weight to it. There's no way you're going to hold this with one hand while you're removing the packaging. That is a hefty turntable. I just wanted to mention that, because these are the things that you should be looking for. People are, the tone arm, the belt, the mat, yeah, but what about this? What about the thing that actually holds it all together? That's got to be solid. This one is. All the parts, the motor, the wiring and everything is all inside the box. There's nothing hanging off or screwed on the bottom of it or anything like that. So it's all self-contained. It's a very, very nice turntable, and it does resemble a vintage unit. Very much so. I can recommend this turntable. Absolutely. It's an awesome piece of equipment. It sounds amazing. Certainly for the price, it's incredible. And take that extra money that you saved because you didn't buy one of the other turntables that are out there right now and get yourself this cartridge. When you get this set up, these two things, that cartridge and this turntable, you will not be disappointed. I can almost guarantee you that. And I do have a record that I can play for you that's not going to strike me have any problems with copyrights or anything like that. This record was released in 1988. It's called The Big Picture, Dream on the Horizon, a tribute to the Olympic spirit. I wrote the title track for this album, the song Dream on the Horizon. So we're going to take a listen to that right now. And thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. Good luck with your turntable choices. Post a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay tuned. And remember, I always say this, vinyl is final. Cheers. Thank you.
Strive for your dreams. Seems you never stop. It's an uphill climb, but if you've got the time, you just keep climbing until you reach the top. And there'll be times when the world's not on your side, and you'll cry, but you'll always get by. Knowing there's a dream on the horizon, and you're running through the night. And if the sun isn't shining, you gotta carry your own light. Yeah. Somewhere tonight there is a light that's burning for you, and you gotta believe this was meant to be. You gotta show the world just what you can do. If there's a stairway that you must climb, don't look behind. Take it one step at a time, 'cause there's a dream on the horizon, and you're running through the night. And if the sun isn't shining, you gotta carry your own light. Now is the time. The flags are unfurled. The lights are all green. Now it's